But in Australia, organic doesn't always mean safer. Some organic products still get recalled. Others belong to categories with hidden contamination risks. Today, we expose 15 organic buys Australians should avoid, and the 5 that earn trust. This isn't fear. It's about recalls, missing transparency, and what organic doesn't cover. Some risks you can see, others you can't. Number 15 is a brand Australians buy to feel safe, ethical, pasture-raised, premium. But one of its organic beef mince products was officially recalled in Australia after plastic contamination was found. This wasn't social media speculation. It wasn't a rumour. It was a confirmed recall. And that matters because it exposes a misunderstanding many shoppers have. Organic certification focuses on farming practices. It does not eliminate the risks that appear later, during processing, packaging, or distribution. If plastic can still end up in organic meat, the label alone isn't the safety net people think it is. This doesn't mean every product from this brand is unsafe. It means trust without verification is a risk. What matters is this. Recalls don't wait for your attention. By the time you hear about one, products are often already in fridges and already eaten. That means the label didn't protect you. The system failed first. Recalls matter because they're stress tests, not just warnings. They show what happens when real-world conditions collide with labels, standards, and marketing promises. And organic food is not protected from that reality. So the organic label can be true, and you can still be exposed. When something goes wrong later in the chain, the organic label doesn't stop it. This is why blind trust is the problem, not organic food itself. The brands that earn trust learn fast, fix fast, and stay transparent. Because safety isn't about perfection. It's about how a system behaves when something goes wrong. That was the obvious kind of risk. Now we move to the invisible kind. There's a reason this next entry isn't a single brand, because the real issue here isn't one company. It's an entire category Australians underestimate. Organic baby foods made with rice, sweet potato, root vegetables, and fruit purees carry a well-documented global risk of heavy metal accumulation, arsenic, lead, cadmium, mercury. Not because companies are malicious, but because these elements exist naturally in soil and water, and babies consume more food per kilogram of body weight than adults. Here's where trust breaks down. Most Australian baby food brands do not publish routine batch-level heavy metal testing that parents can easily access. Parents assume organic equals clean, but organic standards regulate farming inputs, not what the soil already contains. Until testing results are transparent, this category deserves caution, not blind loyalty. Baby food deserves its own pause. Infants process food differently from adults. Their systems are still developing and they consume more food per kilogram of body weight, so small exposures can matter more. That's why infant food is held to higher expectations and why transparency matters most here. But here's where the gap appears. While organic standards focus on farming inputs, they don't automatically require brands to publish contaminant testing results that parents can review themselves. So parents are often left choosing based on branding, trust, and price, not data. That's not because brands are hiding something by default. It's because transparency isn't required. And when transparency isn't required, it becomes optional. For parents, that's not good enough. If any category deserves visible proof, routine testing, and open reporting, it's the one feeding babies. This isn't about panic. It's about raising the standard where it matters most. This is where the list gets uncomfortable, because this next name isn't obscure. It's one of the most trusted baby food brands in Australia. And that trust is exactly why it belongs here. Bellamy's Organic meets certification standards, but there is limited public access to routine batch-level contaminant testing across its full range. Parents are paying premium prices expecting extra protection. What they're often getting instead is reassurance through branding, not data. When it comes to infant food, trust should be backed by evidence, not assumptions. Now watch what happens when the same issue repeats under a different label. Only Organic is another familiar name in Australian baby food aisles. And again, this isn't an accusation of wrongdoing. It's a reminder that certification alone does not eliminate environmental contamination. Until brands in this category openly publish testing results parents can review themselves, the risk remains higher than most shoppers realise. Babies deserve the highest transparency standards of all. This is where the conversation shifts, because the next brand isn't really a brand in the way people think. Coles organic products look reassuring: clean packaging, familiar branding, competitive prices. But private label organics come with a hidden issue most shoppers never consider: supplier switching. Supermarkets can change suppliers based on cost, availability or margins, while the label on the shelf stays exactly the same. Quick question: have you ever bought the same product, but it tasted different the next time? Or the texture changed? Or it didn't last as long? That's often a supplier switch hiding behind identical packaging. Tell me in the comments which product you've noticed this with. One batch may come from one farm, the next from another, with different soil, standards and oversight. Organic certification might still apply, but consistency becomes impossible to verify. Private label organics aren't automatically bad. They're unpredictable. And unpredictability isn't what families are paying organic prices for. This is the moment most shoppers never see. Private label organics exist because they give supermarkets control. Control over pricing, control over margins, control over suppliers. That control comes with a trade-off. When a supermarket owns the label, it can change suppliers without changing the branding. The product looks identical on the shelf. The trust signal stays intact. But the source behind it may be completely different. Different farms, different soil conditions, different handling practices. From a consumer's perspective, nothing appears to change. And that's the issue. Organic certification may still apply, but consistency becomes harder to verify because the supply chain is constantly shifting behind the scenes. This doesn't mean private label organic food is automatically unsafe. Many suppliers do meet standards. Many products are fine. The problem is that shoppers are never told when things change. Trust relies on stability. But private label systems are designed for flexibility. And when flexibility is prioritized over transparency, consumers lose the ability to make informed choices. That's why this isn't about attacking supermarkets. It's about understanding incentives. When a system rewards cost control more than consistency, quality becomes variable, even when standards are technically met. Organic was meant to reduce uncertainty. Private label systems often reintroduce it. Up to now, it's been category risk. Now we shift to system risk, where the label stays the same, but the supplier can change overnight. If you think that problem stops there, it doesn't. Macro Organic is Woolworth's house brand, and like all private labels, it prioritises cost control and volume. That pressure flows straight down the supply chain. Standards may be met on paper, but transparency around sourcing, testing, and batch consistency remains limited. When margins tighten, quality is usually the first thing quietly compromised. Trust becomes even harder to maintain here. IGA stores operate independently. That means organic home brand products can vary widely depending on the supplier chosen by each store. One IGA may stock high-quality organic goods. Another may sell the same label sourced from an entirely different supplier. The logo stays the same. The standards don't. Organic should be reliable, not dependent on postcode. This is where organic starts travelling. Many organic pastas, grains, oils and sauces sold in Australia are imported. Some list product of multiple countries on the label. That's legal. But it makes verification extremely difficult. Different countries enforce organic standards differently. Oversight varies. Enforcement varies. The longer the supply chain, the more opportunities for shortcuts. Organic food should shorten the distance between farm and plate, not stretch it across continents. Country of origin matters more than most people think. Organic standards aren't identical worldwide. Enforcement intensity varies. Inspection frequency varies. Resources vary. Some countries have strong oversight. Others rely heavily on paperwork and self-reporting. When products travel across multiple borders, verification becomes more complex. Every extra step adds distance, not just physically, but informationally. By the time imported organic food reaches Australian shelves, consumers are several layers removed from the farm. That doesn't automatically make imported organic bad, but it does make it harder to verify. Shorter supply chains reduce uncertainty. Fewer steps mean fewer assumptions. Organic was originally about reconnecting food to its source. Long, opaque supply chains work against that goal. Now, the danger isn't where it comes from, it's what gets done to it. Nature's Path markets organic cereals as wholesome and family-friendly, but cereals remain one of the most processed categories in the supermarket. Even organic cereals can contain high sugar levels, refined grains, and heat-damaged ingredients. Organic doesn't cancel out processing. It doesn't cancel out sugar. And it doesn't cancel out daily exposure. Rotation matters. If you want proof that organic can still be junk, it lives here. Snack bars look healthy. They sound healthy. But many are still ultra-processed products built around organic syrups and sugars. Organic sugar is still sugar. And ultra-processed organic food undermines the health benefits people think they're buying. This is where many shoppers get confused. Organic and processed are not opposites. A product can be organic and still highly processed. It can be organic and still engineered for shelf life, sweetness, and convenience. Processing changes how food behaves in the body. Texture, absorption speed, and satiety signals all shift. That's why ultra-processed organic food often doesn't deliver the health outcomes people expect. The label creates a halo, the ingredients tell a different story. This doesn't mean organic snacks are forbidden. It means they shouldn't be mistaken for whole food. Recall history matters here. Organic bread has been recalled in Australia due to undeclared allergens. That highlights a bigger issue. Bread is heavily processed. It passes through many handling points. The risk isn't the wheat, it's the system. Always check recalls, always rotate brands. This one traps even careful shoppers. Pre-washed organic salad feels like the safest shortcut, but leafy greens are among the highest risk foods for contamination globally. Pre-washing doesn't sterilize produce. Sealed bags trap moisture. Temperature failures magnify risk. Organic standards focus on pesticides, not microbes. Convenience has a cost. Here's where the warning sign becomes obvious. If organic is suddenly cheap, something else is doing the heavy lifting. When organic prices drop too low, something has to give. Oversight, testing, transparency. Cheap organic relies on scale and speed, the opposite of what organic was meant to represent. Organic was never designed to be cheap. It was designed to be careful. Care takes time, and time costs money. When organic food becomes aggressively cheap, something has to compensate for that pressure. Sometimes it's labour. Sometimes it's oversight. Sometimes it's testing frequency. Budget organic relies on efficiency, scale, and speed, the same forces that dominate conventional food systems. That doesn't make it fraudulent, but it does mean the margin for error increases. Organic standards were built assuming smaller scale and closer oversight. When those assumptions disappear, the label stays. But the spirit changes. This is why price alone should never be the deciding factor with organic food. Cheap organic isn't automatically bad, but it deserves more scrutiny, not less. This is where shoppers get played the most. In Australia, products can legally use natural-sounding language without being certified organic. Natural, farm fresh, earth-friendly. None of it means anything legally. If it doesn't clearly state certified organic and show who certified it, assume it's marketing. The top spot isn't a brand name, it's a behaviour, because the most dangerous organic product is the one you trust automatically, the one you stop checking, stop questioning, and buy on habit. And that's how smart shoppers get caught, not by lies, by familiarity. When a product becomes part of your routine, your brain stops treating it like a decision. You don't read the label anymore. You don't check the country of origin. You don't notice when the packaging changes, or when the ingredients shift, or when the product quietly becomes made with organic ingredients instead of fully organic. you just grab it. And the longer you buy something, the more you feel like you've vetted it, even if you haven't checked it in years. That's what makes blind trust so profitable, because a trusted label doesn't just sell one product. It sells your attention. It buys your silence at the shelf. And once your attention is gone, the system doesn't have to trick you. It just has to change quietly. This is why the most powerful habit you can build isn't buying organic. It's verifying, checking recalls occasionally, scanning the certification details, looking for vague wording, and refusing to let routine replace judgment. Organic can be a better choice, but only when the trust is earned, not assumed. So what does real trust actually look like? It's not perfection, it's predictability. Trustworthy brands reduce surprises. They shorten supply chains. They make sourcing clearer, not more complex. They don't hide behind vague language. They don't rely on green packaging to do the talking. Most importantly, they make verification easier for consumers, not harder. That doesn't mean publishing every internal document. It means being clear about where food comes from, how it's handled, and what standards are being met. The brands that earn trust don't ask you to believe. They make belief unnecessary. That's the difference between marketing and accountability. So now let's define what earned trust actually looks like, because some brands really do make it easier. After everything you've seen, here's the relief, and it's practical. These 5 aren't perfect. They're simply harder to hide behind because verification is easier. This is a brand that stays out of trouble by staying close to food in its simplest form. Nutra Organics focuses on whole food ingredients, short ingredient lists, and categories with lower contamination and processing risk. You won't find endless flavour variations, flashy claims, or heavy reliance on organic sugar and fillers. Notice what's missing here. Less processing, less noise, less room for surprises. It's not exciting, and that's exactly why it works. Brook Farm earns trust by being specific, not vague. They're clear about which products are organic and which aren't, instead of hiding behind blanket branding. Their organic lines focus on Australian sourcing, small batch production, and transparency about what goes into each product. That honesty matters. You're not asked to assume, you're shown enough to decide. In a space full of blurred lines, clarity becomes a trust signal. ClearSpring feels different because it refuses to complicate things. Single ingredient products, minimal processing, long-standing organic practices, traceable sourcing that doesn't rely on lifestyle marketing to sound convincing. This is organic without the performance. It doesn't try to look healthy. It doesn't try to sound premium. It just stays boring in the best possible way. And boring is often where safety lives. This brand does one thing extremely well. It keeps supply chains short. Fewer steps between farm and shelf mean fewer assumptions, fewer handoffs, and fewer places where standards can quietly slip. Certification is clear. Processing is minimal. Interference is low. This is organic behaving like it was originally designed to behave. Careful, local, and controlled. Not fast, not flashy, just deliberate. At the top of the list is a brand that keeps it simple on purpose. Australian-grown produce. Transparent sourcing. Straightforward labelling. No unnecessary layers between the food and the shopper. There's very little to interpret here. And that's the point. Short supply chains beat clever branding every time, because the less you're asked to trust, the safer the choice usually is. Organic labels don't guarantee purity. They don't guarantee safety. And they definitely don't replace awareness. So here's the rule. Don't buy the label, buy the proof. Rotate brands. Check recalls. Look for real certification. And when something feels vague, trust that instinct. If this video saved you time, money, or stress, hit like. It tells YouTube to show this to more Australians who need it. And if you want more straight, no-fluff breakdowns of what's actually on Australian shelves, subscribe and turn on notifications. Now I want to hear from you. What organic product or brand made you feel ripped off, or surprised you in a good way? Drop it in the comments. I read them and I use them to pick the next investigation. Share this with one person who always says, "It's organic, it must be fine." Because the biggest cost isn't always on the receipt, it's in what you don't notice. I'll see you in the next one.